Welcome to Medical Terminology. The textbook we're going to be using is Medical Terminology Get Connected, our third edition. This is what the cover looks like. Let's go ahead and get started with Chapter 1. The learning objectives are to identify three types of medical terms, explain the difference between prefixes, suffixes, root words, and combining vowels, form combining forms, explain how to analyze, build, and interpret medical terms, explain how to pluralize medical terms, and understand how to pronounce medical terms.
In our daily lives, each of us is surrounded by medical terminology. Healthcare professionals use it to communicate with each other. It's also used in the doctor's office and when talking with friends, when reading the newspaper, watching TV, or online. Using medical terminology is an efficient way to convey very specific and important information. Each term has a precise meaning, and detailed information can be quickly shared using only a few words. As such, everyone has something to gain either professionally or personally from learning how to understand and use medical terms. There are three common types of medical terms. Terms built from Latin and Greek word parts, for example, cardiology, tonsillectomy. Terms based on a person's name, called eponyms. Examples are Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's. And then terms using modern English words. Examples are magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, and irritable bowel syndrome. But the majority of medical terms are built from Latin and Greek words. Learning medical terminology is like learning a foreign language. As you learn, you'll follow a general process. First, you'll memorize individual word parts, and then you'll use those memorized parts to build and analyze terms. Gain confidence through repetition, and then you'll integrate the terms into your vocabulary. As you learn, you'll encounter word roots, suffixes, prefixes, and combining forms. The word root is the foundation of most medical terms and gives the essential meaning of the term. The root frequently, though not always, refers to a body structure, organ, or a system. Examples of word roots include the following: arth for joint, carcin for cancer, cardi for heart, cephal for head, elect for electricity, gastr for stomach, hepat for liver, my for muscle, ost for bone, and rein for nose. The suffix is found at the end of the medical term and provides information about conditions, diseases, surgical procedures, or diagnostic procedures involving the word roots. When a suffix is written by itself, a hyphen is placed in front of the suffix. Examples of suffixes include the following: ectomy, meaning surgical removal; gram, a record; itis, inflammation; logi, study of; megaly, enlarged; pathy, disease. The prefix is found at the beginning of a medical term and provides information such as abnormal conditions, numbers, positions, or times. Many medical terms do not have a prefix. Note that when a prefix is written by itself, a hyphen is placed on the end. Examples of prefixes include the following: a, without; by, to; dis, meaning abnormal, difficult, or painful; inter, between; post, after; sub, under. Combining vowels, most often the vowel O, are used to connect word parts and to make a medical term easier to spell and pronounce. Combining vowels are placed either between a word root and a suffix or between two word roots. It's never used between a prefix and a word root. Combining vowels are not always necessary. To decide if one is needed between a word root and a suffix, you must look at the first letter of the suffix. Do not use a combining vowel between a word root and a suffix if the suffix begins with a vowel. For example, the correct way to combine the word root arthur and the suffix itis is arthritis, not arthroitis. Place a combining vowel between two root words even if the second word root begins with a vowel. The term gastroenterology is correct, while gastroenterology is incorrect. The combining form consists of a word root and its combining vowel. It's written with a slash between the two word parts. For example, electro is the combining form meaning electricity. If you look here at figure 1.2 from your book, these are some examples of combining forms in the body. Cephalo, rhino, cardio, gastro, hepato, myo, osteo, and arthro. The combining form is not another category of word part because it consists of two other word parts. Word parts are normally presented as combining forms because they are easier to pronounce and easier to remember. For example, try pronouncing the word roots gastr, arthr without a combining vowel. It's a lot easier to say gastro and arthro. Word roots will be given as combining forms throughout this text. When using medical terms, it's essential to know how to define terms used by other people and how to build medical terms for yourself. Whether defining or building terms, remember that the meaning of the individual word parts gives you the information needed to understand the basic meaning of the term. When defining medical terms, follow these steps as illustrated with the example dysmenorrhea. Divide the term into its word parts, dys, men, o, rhea. Define each word part. Dys means abnormal, difficult, or painful. Meno means menstruation, and rhea means discharge. Put the meaning of the word parts together to see what the term means. Difficult or painful menstrual discharge. Building medical terms is almost the reverse of defining them. Determine the definition you need to make a word for, identify word parts that make a term with this definition, and then string the word parts together. Place the word parts in the correct order. For here we have the word parts that convey the meaning. Fibro meaning fibrous, dermato meaning skin, and oma meaning tumor. Not all possible combinations of word parts build actual medical terms used by medical professionals. For example, fibrodermatoma describes the parts correctly, but it's not actually a term. This is frustrating at first, but will get easier with time and practice. Latin and Greek-based medical terms do not follow the same pluralization rules as used in English. The following table shows the pluralization rules. If the word ends in A, keep A and add an E. So for a singular vertebra, add vertebrae. For axe, drop the axe and add CES. Instead of thorax, thoraces. For X, add ICES, apex, apices. IS, drop IS and add ES. Metastasis, metastases. IX, drop the X and add CES. Appendix, appendices. MA, keep the MA and add TA. For sarcoma, sarcomata. ON, drop the ON and add A. Spermatozoon, spermatozoa. US, drop the US and add an I. Instead of alveolus, alveoli. Drop the and add an A. Instead of ovum, it's ova. For X, drop the X and add a GES. Phalanx, and the plural is phalanges. And for Y, drop the Y and add an IES. Instead of biopsy, it's biopsies. Medical terms are often difficult to pronounce because the word parts are unfamiliar or they contain letter combinations that do not occur in English words. The glossary at the back of the book contains a phonetical pronunciation of each term presented in the book. But the following table offers some pronunciation hints with stressed syllables written in uppercase. So here we see bursi, coelum, cerebrum, gingivitis, cardiac, gastric, cholesterol, chemical, syncope, and nares. Bronchi, nuclei, pneumonia, pneumogram, tachypnea, hypopnea, psychiatry, psychology. That is the end of Chapter 1.